Hello everyone, I am RexRed and this is EZ3DTV. I am going to show you today my new program called VDB Wizard. And it is going to be, it's took me 9 months to create this program and working day and night, and I thought it would never get finished. But it got finished, and then I had to go through the publishing steps, and it made it all the way into the Daz store today. So it is available. It's VDB Wizard, and we are going to take a look at this program too. So what we're going to do is open VDB Wizard. Now it's pretty cut and dry how you use this program. I mean, how you install it, okay? You just use the Daz Install Manager. It will show up once you purchase it. It will show up in your Daz Install Manager. You let it install, and the first time you open it, it's going to ask you for a hard drive where you want to put, and you can't move down into a folder on your hard drive. It has to go in the root. So it's going to create, if you just have a C drive, it'll create the VDB Wizard user folder, and that's where all of your VDB stuff will go. So put it on a drive that has a lot of space, okay? That you don't mind filling up. VDBs can be pretty big in size, depending on what you want, what kind of VDBs you want to make, okay? So it's nice to have them on a place where you just don't have to worry about space, okay? So now I'm going to create a new project. When it opens up, I recommend creating a project. You don't have to. You can skip it, but then it won't let you do certain things, okay? So create a project name. It's just any project. Okay, and we click any project. Okay, so the first thing you can see is the owner's manual. You click on this owner's manual, and hopefully it opens. Yeah, it's thinking about it. It's saying, give me a minute, all right? I need to think about it. And so this just opened. If you don't have Adobe Acrobat on your computer, and if it's not linked to that, it'll just open in either Chrome or Firefox or Edge or something like that. And so you can basically go down through here. I did put images in here, so it's not just a bunch of text. So it allows you to kind of see things as you go through. It's not a huge manual. Let's see how big it is. It's 39 pages, and the last one's almost blank. So, and it says end of manual. So you can go in and read the manual, but that is why I am here today, is to show you kind of how to get started, so that, and what the program does. All right, so you have the advisor console, the log, and the project view. The project view is VDB Wizard does not come with any presets. Okay, I went against, having presets, because when you have a preset, it creates that preset has its own whole set of parameters that make it a preset, and so I just didn't want the confusion of the initial state where everything is kind of ready to go versus this state, another state, and have it confusing between the two states. So what you have is a project view, and as you can see, I have a bunch of projects that I've created. So what's really nice is these are your presets. Your presets are the things you make, okay? And you can just click on them like this, and hopefully they'll show. And if you hold the shift key and you drag down, you can move this around, okay? So this doesn't look like much, but this is a VDB, all right? Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to start from scratch, and we're going to create a VDB. So I'll go File, New. I just created a project, so let's go to the project view. And I called it Any Project, and it doesn't have anything in it yet, but this is our new project. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, you want to decide what you want to do. Okay, you want to kind of have a focus in mind. Now, of course, when you first start this out, you you're not really going to be oriented towards something in particular possibly that you want to do, and so you're going to want to just explore. Okay, and so you don't have to load mesh, you don't have to load a camera to explore. Okay, so the first thing you do is add a layer. Okay, and here I just added the first layer. That was pretty simple. Just add a layer. Okay, and why you have to add a layer is because VDB Wizard used to have multiple layers, and I decided against that because I didn't want, because one VDB is enough, okay? And the thing is that if you make more VDBs, you can just load them into Daz. Daz can accept like lots of VDBs at once. So what you do is you just create them one by one by one as you need them in your scene, and you just load them into Daz. So when you create this layer, you're going to notice there's two categories. There's smoke and there's fire, okay? These categories, if you look, it says surface, swarm, atmosphere, primitive, particle sim, fluid sim for smoke. And when you click fire, it says the same kind of things. It says surface, swarm, atmosphere. There might be one more for fire, I'm not sure, but it's pretty much the same exact thing, okay? But smoke is smoke and fire is fire, okay? So they're different things, okay? So, but they have the same way of generating what they are, okay? So, but they're two different kinds of VDBs, and fire has a very special, fire is just like smoke in a way, but it has a special thing called temp, and that's where you're where you're able to add emission, and that emission puts off light, okay? So VDBs are like a fog, okay, kind of thing. They're like smoke, but then they're also fire where they're a light source, okay? So let's start with smoke first, okay? And what I'm going to do is we're going to go with the particle sim. Okay, let's go here to particle sim. And as you can see, when I clicked on the particle sim, it loaded right up. It doesn't look like much here, okay? But this is a particle simulation, okay? So what it means is that if you think of, all right, this looks kind of like a fire hydrant that's exploding water out of it, okay? And what happens is the fire hydrant's fine, and then all of a sudden it kind of breaches some kind of crack in the top of the fire hydrant, and it starts squirting out water, okay? And so at first it starts out really, really low, and then it starts coming up out of it, over time. So it's a time thing. So at first, so that's what this simulation is. It's a time thing. So if I go down into our settings here, and if now we look at how many settings you have just for this simulation. So as you can see, I was busy, all right, making this so that you can change this simulation into many, 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 many types of things. This is just one simulation, one mode of the smoke category, okay? So now your emitter offset, like I can move the emitter to the left or to the right, okay? And that's like completely out of the picture here, all right? So, and the Y offset will raise it up in the air. The Z offset will move it in or out, okay? And the aperture is how big the base is. How big of a breach did this make in the, you see, okay? So we have that, all right? And then we go down into duration, okay? Now this lift caps, you're going to see this all through the program, okay? You're going to see this lift caps. And what are the caps, okay? And this is where it really, what I'm about to say is if you listen to this part, this will make this program easy for you to use, okay? Because there are two, with every VDB, there are two important, just about everyone, there are two important parameters that you have to learn, okay? And if you notice that this VDB looks like it's made up of little teeny dots, okay? Well, each one of these, this is why this is called, this is like particle simulation. Each particle is like a separate VDB, okay? And they're coming up out of this simulation, okay? That's occurring over time. But we're seeing one snapshot of it, and we're seeing it after it's kind of already matured, okay? Why would you want to see it when it's just starting, okay? You'd want to see it in kind of all of its glory. And so this now, and so the two parameters that you need to learn, one of them is radii or size, okay? The size of the particle, and the other one is voxel, okay? And the voxel is how fine the little particles are that make the particle, okay? So each particle, so if you make a large particle, okay, you don't need as many voxels because since it's larger, the particles that make up the particle can be larger, okay? But if you need something like a little drop of rain, okay, that is like micro rain, like a tiny little piece of rain that's very tiny, then you need to have voxels in that rain that are very, very down to the size of a pixel, okay? They're very, very, very tiny so that raindrop can have detail. Now, what happens is with VDBs is if you take and make a large rain, like a basketball, and you put voxels in it that are intended for a raindrop, okay? What you've done is you've created something that your computer can't compute. You have created something too big for your computer to compute. And this is why when you look at this looks kind of foggy. This kind of looks, because these little lines here are because the voxels are large. And the reason why I have this set, why this opens like this in default, is that everybody who opens up their computer and clicks on this and wants to do a simulation so that it appears, even if their computers or they're on a laptop or their computer's kind of weak, that it will show up. Something will show up. Now, if I take this and right click and inject to Daz, okay? So we go boom, that's done. It just injected. Now, if I go here and bring this into Daz, okay, and we'll turn off this one. It's being clipped by the box it's in, okay? But as you can see here, and we go to parameters, this isn't too bad, okay? Looks like a lot of the VDBs. Did you see it took one click for me to bring this into Daz, okay? So we go now to this and we can translate it, okay, like this. I can move it around. Oops, I think I need the right one. Z. How about if we click the right one? Okay, X translate. We can move it around, and I'm doing this in Iray, and we can go scale. I can scale it and make it bigger. Okay. Now, if you look at this, even with those voxels in a very that aren't really defined, this still looks it's this is a very, very lightweight VDB, okay? So then if I were to go here, and now I can go into surfaces, and I can just say, okay, let's give it some pretty color, like maybe a green, okay? And that's a little bit strong, so let's go with a darker green. And as you can see, you have a foggy kind of smoke, all right? Now the parameters in the program decide what kind. Now what we have up here, all right, so I'm going to say that again, I'm going to go over that one more time, okay? You have radii, which is the size of each VDB. This is a VDB, this is one. This is one of the awesome features of VDB Wizard. Is what I call swarm VDBs. It's not just one VDB, it's a whole bunch of them that are all controlled by like a master control for the VDB. This standard, this is the CPU render, and this standard is just kind of like uh, as low quality as possible. So if your computer is just really, really, even if it's low, your graphics card will probably do a better job. And this render is also, it's just a little, it's in the middle of this standard. So if I go to render, you'll see that this will become a little bit better. And if I go to GPU, okay, it switches to the GPU, and suddenly it looks a little even better. Then if I go down here to the bottom and I have low, medium, high, ultra, extreme, if I just go to extreme so that the GPU is looking at this the way it kind of is, all right, then you're going to get, it doesn't look like it changed much, but this is, if you think and say, well, see, this doesn't really look like it's going to look like in Daz. And it's like, why? Why can't I? Because if you notice, when I bring this into Daz, in Iray, if I change this and I move the VDB, every time Iray has to blink and redo it, okay? But when I'm here, I can just move this around like this. And as you can see, I can kind of get an idea of what I'm making, all right? And you'll notice these are familiar. This is the left, front, top, and all. You can use these to drag this around. So this is the front. You should be familiar with that kind of thing. So, so this is, so basically, then what you come in and do is you play around with these sliders. Now, I'm going to show you the voxels, okay? And then we're going to go here and look also, and you have to kind of look for them, okay? This is the radius, okay? Radius tells you how big each VDB is going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the voxels are at 5 centimeters. And what I've done is, if you figure the voxel to size ratio, okay, that's math, and math is not fun when you're trying to play trying to play around with VDBs. So what I did was I created an advisor, okay? And the advisor talks to you down in this little box down in here. And now, the advisor is saying, hey, this is okay. What you have here is okay. And it's saying this is 202K, all right? So this VDB is only 202K. Now, generally, you can go, it all depends on what kind of computer you have. But when you get to 1,000,000K, to 1,000,000 voxels, what we have here is here's our voxels and here's our radius, okay? So you just have to find voxels and radius. But as I change these voxels and change the radius, let's make the radius a little bit bigger, like go like this and drag this up. And now you notice each VDB is getting larger. When I go this way, they're getting smaller, okay? So this is how this works, and you can see there's more space in between them. But then when I go larger, okay, but the voxels are still staying at 5 centimeters, okay? And so when they get larger, okay, this, for some reason, this is not changing the voxels. It's not changing the voxels because the same amount of voxels are being used to make a large radius VDB than what would be used to make a small one, okay? This is the part you have to learn. And we're just working with a simulation right now. It's kind of the easiest way to kind of get started and see what your computer can do. But if I take these voxels, now see, the voxels are what's making up each one of these little VDBs. Each one is a separate little VDB, okay? And so if I right click and inject to Daz, proceed, okay, and say keep all, eject, okay, and let's hide this one. All right, hide you. All right, and then I'm going to bring this one in. Okay, see, this doesn't look too bad. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock my camera so I can just kind of move it around. Edit, object, lock, unlock. Okay, now I can kind of move it around and just zoom in right on the VDB. All right, now we'll put this in the center here and zoom in. So this is very small radii with the same amount of voxels. But if you notice, this isn't too bad for a VDB. Okay, and I can move it kind of around in the scene. Okay, each time. See, so this isn't too bad. And so, but what happens if I make more voxels in each particle? Well, each particle is going to become more defined, okay? And so we go here and we now take these voxels. Let's go down to 1. We had 1 centimeter instead of 5 centimeters for each voxel. Okay, then right click, inject to Daz, proceed. And when it goes through this process, it's rendering it into a VDB. Okay, and as you can see, it took longer to render. Okay, so now let's see, let's bring this in here. And you'll see now that these voxels, so I'm kind of not just teaching you how to use VDB Wizard, but I'm teaching you, how to use VDBs. So let's now bring this in. Okay. Where did that go? Oh, it went into the same space. Okay. Now you can see that each of these little dots have more definition. Okay. And we can go to the surface here and we can just add this, give it a little bit of color like this. And as you can see, it's pretty cool how that works. So, yeah, so this is, and now, so once you understand, because what's going to happen is you come in and you'll start dragging these things, and once you get down to this voxel one or the radii one, okay, the radii makes these larger, okay? So now when I brought that down, now you see, now when I'm moving this radius, it's actually changing, like, okay, down at this size, it's at 1 million voxels, okay? We're at 8 million voxels, okay? See, so when you drag, so the radii and the voxels are how many? So if you drag this like up and make the radius really big with all these little teeny voxels in it, okay, what'll happen is it just nothing, the screen will go blank. It won't show you, like, let me show you what happens when you do this. Like, let me drag it up, okay? Now this is 25 million. This is now 25 million voxels, okay? It did show up, but now if I want to change the flow or the gravity or the wind or the amount of noise that it has, it's going to be really, really slow. So what you want to do is you want to get this down to like 250K, something that you can actually work with. So I bring this back down. Now that's 5 million. Let's see, we'll go here with the radius, okay? And we'll bring it up a little bit more. And so we can actually see these little dots. Oh, that's the noise, okay. We're going to go with radius and bring it up a little more so we can see them. They're kind of tiny. And then we'll bring the voxels up. Now, when they go up, they get bigger. And so there aren't so many teeny tiny voxels making up each little VDB, okay? So we'll go back to 5 again. And then we can bring this radius up a little bit more so you can actually see it. Okay? Now we're at 202K. And this is a perfect little place to start working with our the shape of our VDB. Okay? So like I showed you earlier, flow well, I didn't show you this one. Flow makes it flow faster. Now remember, this is a thing that's happening over time, and it's showing us a snapshot of where, so if I go with this duration, okay, this is 2 seconds, all right, 2.4 seconds, and it only went that far. If I go to 4 seconds, it goes here. If I go to 5 seconds, as you can see, the more I go, the larger this becomes, and it starts to become larger than its bounds. All right, and this is why you have these sliders here. Okay, this is dimensions. And let me explain. Now, in a simulation, okay, this box, okay, even the empty space, the place that doesn't have any VDB in it, it still has data there, okay? And so if you make this box larger, it's making that data field larger. Okay, so the idea is not to make it so big. See, I can make it wider, I can make it higher, but as I do that to this domain becomes, and then I can go like this, and I can make it deeper, okay? But as you expand this, you are expecting your computer to do, now all of this wasted space up here, okay, so if I change the height down, all right, and you don't want it clipped, you don't want it to clip this, but you also don't want it to have so much wasted space that, that it's creating extra. Now, see, that went from 200 to 879, almost a million K by making this larger. Okay, so so that's why making your durations like lower so that it doesn't, so that you capture it at a smaller duration, then you can take this and make your width and to fit, and then the domain gets smaller, the depth. Okay, did I do the depth? Okay, where's the depth? Let's look at this from the side, okay? So let's get the depth in a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. And the height. Okay, that looks okay. We can click this. If you hold the control key, it gives you bigger chunks that it moves, okay? Look at the side, make sure that's okay. And then we look at the, well, that's the front, okay? So this, and then we can zoom in on this, and so we can see it a little better. So I'm just going to kind of go to, so the duration, if you let it really mature, okay, it's going to go taller. But then you can say buoyancy, and you say the buoyancy will make it like kind of heavier so it doesn't expand as quickly. So, and then you have dissipation. Let's see how this works. See all of these. So by this time, it's dissipated more, okay? And so this is how, but if you go like this, it's not dissipated at all right? And then how many particles? Right now, this is 2,000 VDBs, 2,000 particles in this simulation. So if I bring it down to, say, 100, okay, there's 100 particles, okay? And then we go, and remember our voxels. Now, the count doesn't really matter that much. See, as I bring the particle amount up, well, it does actually, this just brought it up to 500K. Maybe I've got this wrong in this simulation. In the simulation, it does. So if you add more particles, it does bring it up, but not radically, okay? But you see, this advisor here is doing all, there was a time, let's say the promo image, voxels in the wind, is very interesting. Will you explain how it was made at some point? The voxels in the wind is one of these simulations, okay? And I'll show you right now how that was made, okay? Turbulence, velocity scale, multi-gravity spread. You have masks, so you can cut parts of the VDB out, okay? Wind, okay? So we have wind. And so we have X wind, okay? As you can see what the wind is doing to this. And you have, so that is, it should give you an idea of this. And then we have Z wind, okay? So it looks like a smokestack, smoke coming out of a chimney, all right? You have this, and then you have gravity. How much gravity does it, these, these were so hard to make. I will tell you this, and testing them all out. Flow, how much does it flow? Okay, does it flow a lot? Okay, the flow is how it flows out, okay? And so if you want it to be really kind of like a narrow flow, then you bring this in. If you want it to flow into that kind of V position, then, and that one was a hard one, and it was a very important one. Noise start, okay? You see, this is where your noise starts, okay? And so as you bring this up, you can see that the noise starts way up at the top now. And if I bring this down, the noise starts to move its way down, okay? So basically, you can use this. If you become good at this program, you can create VDB packs and sell them, and they work in Daz. And it's just as simple as inject to Daz, proceed, keep this, okay? It just exported that. And now let's just delete these right here. Let's import it, and boom. There's our noise stack. Okay, it's a completely unique VDB that has never existed on planet Earth before. Okay, and so this is the wind thing. Okay, and you got wind. Okay, you got gravity. Okay, which allows it to kind of come up here in the flow. So bring the flow up a little bit. You see how this is so cool? And the so I think pretty much we've exhausted this is called sim. This is one thing. It's called particle sim. Okay. Now, and what this is all kinds of little particles that are being manipulated by the sliders. Fluid sim, okay? Fluid sim is a different kind of sim, okay? Now this is what you saw. This is the voxels in the wind thing, okay? And it looks like it inherited a lot of the parameters that we had for our particle sim. But this is one big VDB, okay? It's a completely different kind of animal than the particle sim, okay? It gives you two different options for these simulations. These are just for simulating something that occurs over time, okay? Like most of the things in VDB Wizard do not occur over time, but what this does is it gives you something that you can just start immediately. You don't have to worry about importing cameras and importing land and importing all of this stuff. You can just open this part and play around with VDB Wizard and just play around with the simulation, okay? It's not a live simulation, and the reason why is because it would just create so much, it would create so much um, overhead with your computer that it would kind of make it unfun. And so this, what it does is you can, by changing the uh, the duration of this right here, you decide how much of the simulation you want it, where in the simulation you want it to start at. This is 8 seconds, okay? So, and as you can see, so what I would probably think to do is to take this simulation now, and where it says position, we'll go X. Oh, that's not what we want to do. Z. Okay, what we want to do is we want to take the emitter offset. We want to move this over like this. And this has a lot of voxels in here. So we have to find our voxels, okay? And we have to probably make them bigger. Let's go with 6. Yeah, it's still actually 384K, so it's not too bad at 6. The voxels. And then we go here to our buoyancy. We'll bring this down a little bit. And then we go to, and we still want to bring this offset over, so we'll bring it down over more. So this all fits into our, look at this. And then look at what we have here. This is so amazing. Let's just see what this looks like. Inject to Daz. It's going to get chopped off a little bit, but let's just do it and see what we're doing here. Now, it took a little bit longer. This is 384K. The math isn't always perfect here. That because it took a little longer, it just kind of, it tells me it's kind of missing some of the math. But look at this, okay? Now see these right here, these little steps here? Those are your voxels. It tells you that these need that when I moved it up an extra one, that you see that that it's made of smaller voxels, big voxels. If you want them to go away, you have to lower the voxels, but you don't want to lower the voxels until you're kind of ready to now. So if we lower the there's a gravity one here, and it looks like our gravity. Okay, raise the gravity. Okay, this lowers it a little bit more into the scene so it fits, I think. And then what we would have to do, and see, the thing is this box is so big, and that is taking up a lot of our. So if we go with this duration and we just bring the duration down some. So yeah, so and then what we can do is make the box a little smaller, a little wide, a little less width. Okay, so we go to the width, we bring the width down like that, and we bring the height down like this. And every time you do that, you can see it's taking more of the bits out of the scene, okay? And then we turn it so we can see the side, and this is, okay, from the right. So you get it pretty much, and when you change the voxels, it's not going to just get finer, it's going to recompute the whole wave, okay? The whole thing, all right? So when I go here and change the voxels, and now you have also noise, and you see this purlin noise, okay? This is putting in these different kind of noise patterns into it. And let's lower the voxels even some more. I have a suspicion that it's missing some of the geometry, okay? So we're gonna not lower, we have to raise them so they're even bigger. Let's go to 8, okay? Where's the voxels? 8, okay. And now let's play around with noise. And as you can see, the purlin scale. So this is pretty much how this works. Noise start. Let's bring the noise start up. Let's see. It doesn't seem to be like updating, which kind of means that I still have a voxel issue. So let's go to 13. Okay, now it's updating. And let's now go and see if we can play with the noise a little bit. It's saying it's 97 kilobytes. Okay, what happens? See, I can see it. It is actually changing. You see, it's very subtle, but the noise, it is changing the noise. Okay, now this cellular, we take the cellular out and we have cellular size. Okay, it's not as pronounced. Now we have curl here and how the scale of the curl. It would probably show more in Daz once you bring it in. And the turbulence. See, it's very, very subtle. We have the emitter. So these big ones down here, cooling, okay? What does cooling do? See, cooling kind of decides whether if it's going to come up or down like that. And so it becomes kind of like a ground thing. Gravity, again, is very similar to cooling. And once you get the voxels right, you can see it and dissipation. That's how much it dissipates once you, now that looks pretty cool. Let's take this into Daz. All right. And that came in instantly, okay? So let's take this one out and bring this one in. And look at that. Now you can see the voxels. So what you want to do at the last minute, right before you can see these voxels really defined, okay? And so at the last minute, what you do is you test and see how much your computer can handle, okay? And you get the voxels. So then I'm going to bring the voxels down to, let's see, what happens when I bring them to 1? Okay, that's actually not too bad. What we do is we say, okay, I want them even smaller. So let's go 0.5. So these little voxels now are going down to 0.5. And that brought us up to, it hasn't even like computed that yet. Let's go to 0.1. Oh, I know why. Okay. Do you see where it says voxel caps off? Okay. This is why these caps are here. So I have to bring, it is computing them. It's just stuck at like 6 or 8. Let's go back to 6, because once I turn the voxels cap off, okay, then it allows you to control the voxels away. Because the reason why these caps are here is so that people won't set them like and say, oh, I'd like it to be at much finer, and set it down at like 0.1, and all of a sudden it won't do anything. It's just locked, okay? And so when you turn the cap off, okay, then it allows you to go down. Now, do you notice our voxels just got smaller, even at 6. So our voxel count is even higher than 6. Let's try going down. Now it just went up to 925K. If I bring this down to like 1, it will be like 32 million. So let's try just going down to 5. Okay, just bringing the voxels down to 5, put it at 2 million voxels. Okay, this might be enough. Okay, 2 million, my computer might render this. Okay, let's try it. Proceed. Let's see how long it takes. At 2 million voxels, it's kind of sitting there. But it did it. Okay, which means that I can probably go up to 3 or 4 million, okay? And if I go up to like 5 million, 6 million, maybe 30 million, it might take 5 minutes to render, okay? But once it's rendered, it will work just perfect in Daz. It's just how long it takes to render, okay? And look at that. At 5 million, this isn't too bad, okay? So this is how this works. And this is where you can come in here now and add your color to it and see what it looks like. Yeah, see that? So there you go. All right, so now, so there is a, so this is going to conclude our, now as you can see, there's a lot of things, time steps and sharpness and pressure and verticity and grid resolution. If it's not doing anything, look for a caps button, okay? And it's usually right there with your voxels, okay? That's usually where the caps go, okay? So now we're going to go out of, now what I'm going to do is we'll do one sim with fire, okay? We'll do the particle sim, okay? And as you can see, it's the same thing pretty much as your smoke sim. And the smoke sim requires a big long trail a lot of times, especially with the wind there. And so we had to make this box really large, okay? So what we're going to do is now we're going to bring the box down. If you can make the sim smaller, then you can add more voxels because you're not using up all these empty voxels, okay? So now So we go now to our dimensions, and we go with the width first. And let's bring the width in. If you hold the control key, it comes in faster. Now the aperture, we have to move it over. Position emitter. Okay, we move the emitter off to the left. Okay, and we bring it, hold the control key, and we can, we don't have to move by tenths of a point or whatever. And then we look to the left, and we still have that same kind of idea. So let's move the emitter over first. Oh, that's Y. That moves it up. Z offset. Let's bring it over manually until we get it in the ballpark. Okay, and then we can move the Z offset with our control key. It moves it at larger increments. And the aperture, we'll make the aperture a little bit smaller. Okay, they're supposed to be kind of like explosions, okay? That's what these simulations are for, is to give you explosions and winds, like something coming out of a chimney or something. So now we go, and as you can see, this is not smoke. This is fire, okay? So what you do is you create your fire explosion and you create your smoke explosion and you put them together, okay? And so now this is our particle emitter, which means now, so what we've got to do is we got to change the size of the room, okay, the dimensions. Okay, so would be depth here. Okay, it's not getting bigger, it's just fitting in better, okay? It's still the same size, okay? So now let's now go back to the front, and let's bring the front back in the width. Okay, now let's look at our, so we just saved our sun, we saved ourselves a ton of voxels by making that the domain smaller, okay? And like I said, not all VDBs have this domain thing, okay? This is only for the simulations, okay? And just because there's a box there with a domain doesn't necessarily mean that it has all these empty voxels in it. Sometimes there is a box there just to contain something, but it doesn't mean that they're not, like with the particle ones. I don't believe the domain really matters because each particle is its own domain. So that's just something to think about, okay? That's this is why I'm telling you these things, because a lot like that right there I don't think is in the manual. So just so you know that just because there's a box doesn't mean the box has to fit perfectly, because and the way you'll be able to tell is when you make the box smaller, if it doesn't change this advisor down here, if it doesn't change the amount of voxels, then it's not voxel dependent, okay? So that's why the advisor is there, is to do all the math for you and just say, okay, you know, you don't want to mess with the algebra of how many voxels fit in this size particle. I'll do all the algebra, and I'll tell you this is the advisor's saying that we have 11K voxels right now, okay? So we have I try to set like 1 million as my limit, even though some simulations let me go up to 32. Some of them even let me go up to 200 million if I don't mind waiting 5 minutes for it to render. Okay, so but 1 million is kind of like my, because sometimes you make one that's 1 million and it takes a while to render. So it all depends, and it just means the advisor's not perfect, but he's pretty close, okay? So now what we do is we're in a particle sim. So what we're going to do is we're going to first find our particles. Yeah, we're in a fire particle sim. So what we're going to do is look at our particles, the emitter, buoyancy particles, okay? The particles. And so you are looking for two things. You're looking for radius and voxels. So I'm going to make the particles smaller, okay? And it's saying we got 2,000, all right? 2,000. So with that many particles, you're not going to see them because there's so many of them. So let's go to 200, all right? And then let's make the radius smaller on the particles. And, okay, we're going to turn the voxel cap off. Let's go to 12 voxels, okay? Radius, let's go to 0.5. And voxels, and you can see these voxels here. Particles is 200 dissipation. Let's mess with some of this. The duration. Okay, that just divided our particles up a little bit. Now we can kind of see the particles, okay? Voxels, flow. What's our flow here? Okay, I think we need to have the noise amount because what this is one big gigantic spout and it's not breaking out of this spout, okay? So noise start. We bring this down like this. Oh, and remember we have wind on, okay? Let's bring the wind in here like that. Oh, let's bring it back. Okay. And now let's go here to, I think we down here we have something called like brightness and density. Let's bring the density down. Okay. And splat minimum. These little things are called splats, okay? Also, you can say how little you want them and how big you want them, maximum splats. If you make them too big, they're not going to differentiate from each other. Okay, and now we go the minimum. Let's bring this up to like 1. And you see these little lines here. That's your this grid, okay? It's kind of going through it's not a distortion in the actual VDB. So gravity, let's bring the gravity. Okay, we don't want too much. Let's bring the spread out, okay? There we go. And the ramp and the splat edge. This is how soft they are around the edges. Okay, this, as you can see, you can do anything with this. This is the amount of noise. And so instead of them being perfect little dots, they become warped and pulled into different shapes. Each one of them gets a certain noise pattern to them, okay? And as you can see, now as you go here to uh, buoyancy distribution, this is our duration. This is how long it's allowed to go through its, and see what that did was that just dispersed them a little bit more, okay? And particles, let's go with 300, okay? And now the voxels. Since we're only at 44K, we can bring these voxels. That's like each particle is like one voxel. Okay, so we want to bring these down to like 0.1. See what that does. That brought it up to 215 million. Okay, but now as you can see, each particle is a defined thing. Okay, So my computer is showing it, but how long would it take to render it? Let's go at a 0.5. All right, now 0.5 brought it to 2 million. It doesn't look that bad. Now let's take our offset, X offset, and bring this more towards the middle. And the particle size, see, voxel particle size, or radii, okay? Radii is your particle size. So if I make the particles bigger, then what's happening is more voxels have to make that particle. Okay, so we're at 2 million. So if I raise so those are the two parameters that change the computing that your uh, that your graphics card has to do. That's why they're so important, okay? And so I'm going to just, now, and you think, oh, I want to raise the radius, okay? So if I make the radius at 2, okay? Now it went from 1 million to 11 million because they're larger, and and that same grid of voxels are filling a larger radius, okay? So that's too much for radius, so let's go to 1. All right, there we go. This is something kind of cool. Now if you notice, if I take and put like particles, and if I say, give me 3,000, you think that, so we're at what? We're at 11 million. Now I just changed that to 3,000 particles, okay? And we're still at 11 million. You see? So the amount of particles don't change your voxels. It's just not in every situation, but in this particular situation, you can have a lot of particles and still only be at 11 million. Let's see what this looks like now in Daz. And that just took it 2 seconds to export to Daz. This is now our, and it looks like, no, it doesn't look like it's being cut off. It looks like it's fitting perfectly into here. The problem is it's just a little bit blown out. And that's why these color settings, I didn't put them in VDB Wizard because Daz does them a lot better than, why reinvent something that you can just do in Daz, okay? So you go into your surfaces, all right? And you go down to your emission. This actually has emission scale, okay? And we bring this emission scale. Let's go to 10. And that didn't do too much. Let's bring down our temperature, okay, here to like a lot, okay? And as you can see, let's bring it back up more. Let's go to 9. Let's go more to, see, this is smoke and fire, okay? This is the fire part. So what you do is you create another simulation of your smoke, and you put this in the center of that smoke, okay? And that's how you do it. You put them together, the smoke and the fire. Now that looks pretty cool right there. And emission scale, let's go to 10. Let's go to 1. Let's go to 0.1, 0.01. See, so it's, and then you have your tint. See, so this is, we can go to 3,000. It's your temp. Let's go 3,500. There you go. So this is supposed to be like the center part, and this is has a little bit of wind still left in it. So this is why this looks kind of so. And you can fan these out, and that's what you do with. As you can see, I have a big long stem in this where I could come into here and lower the spread. Okay, we got spread here. Now, see, I have to go back to my lower voxels, okay? But that spread that out more. The wind, okay, is, I don't remember which, I don't know which, okay, we have to look at this from the side to see that the wind is blowing it in. So let's 0 and 0, okay, and now go back to my voxels. Okay, now we have something that looks kind of correct because the wind was pulling it in. And now we can go to the noise, particle noise. Each particle has a different kind of noise associated with it. So you don't get little round, teeny, round, perfect particles. So each particle is organic, okay? You have two different kinds of, sometimes you have two different, I don't think you have two different kinds here. You have just, yeah, one. So each particle gets, it's a different kind of noise. The splats, you can have larger ones. Oh, the minimum splat. So what we want to do is the spread ramp distance. Okay, this. So we can bring that explosion down further so it's not so high. Start, here it is, noise start. We bring this down. Okay, we can bring this down so it starts right at 0. The noise starts right pretty much at the bottom, and the gravity, bring the gravity, lower the gravity so it comes up higher, faster. And the flow, we want to lower the flow so it's not so wide. And then buoyancy, make it high, make it go higher. Look at that. And what you can do now is you can now change your apparatus so that it's wider at the bottom. You see this? See how now? Let's inject this to Daz. So let's take and delete this. Let's just bring this in and see what we have here now. Okay, now that's our this, remember, this is a fire simulation, okay? So this is not smoke. It's not meant to be smoke, okay? So we go here to add another 0 here and see what happens. Okay, and now we have this emission scale. Let's go to 300, and you right-click, inject, and that brought it up to 11 million. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. All right, so we delete this, we bring this in. There you go. And as you can see, there's not a lot of noise on each one. Okay, and so now you go in here and you play with this, and you go to this. I put that very high. Okay, let's bring this down. Oh, that's way too far. Let's go 5. Let's go 1. So that looks pretty good. That looks kind of like the embers coming out of a fire. Okay, that's what this is. This is supposed to be fire. Okay. So it's unlimited what you can do. My critique about this is these are all like little perfect little dots, okay? And as you can see, you still have some voxel issues. But even with the very best, like from here you can't see them. That's the same way. If you look at the VDBs that you have purchased and that are in the Daz store with fire, okay, and I mean the very, very best from the very best programs that make them today, okay, when you zoom in on those Daz VDBs, you will see this, okay? It's unavoidable. It's the reason being, now the thing is that I can go into this and add more voxels. And when I do add more voxels, I can make this pretty close to disappearing. Okay? But it will take, you know, maybe 3 minutes or 2 minutes to render it. Maybe, no, not that long, maybe a minute. And it will be acceptable. Okay? And so that's the thing, is if you're willing to wait longer, and the thing is it doesn't change the way it really, it is going to be a bigger file that Daz has to load into RAM when it renders, but it's not like exponentially larger, okay? So so there is that. So we're done with particles, okay? So now what we're going to do, I'm going to jump into something much more advanced, okay? Because I really want to show off the immense power of this program, okay? Immense. I am talking immense. Okay, so what we're going to do is delete this layer. That's a way to reset everything kind of back. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to switch to the Daz. Now this program works with both Daz 6 and Daz 4. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. But Ultra Scenery only works with version 4. And so that's why I'm going in here to version 4, is because I'm going to show you what VDB Wizard can do with land. Okay, so we're going to open Ultra Scenery 2, all right, and I'm not going to change this, the settings of the land. Don't make it too big, all right, because then you're going to be just pushing the heck out of VDB Wizard when you don't normally when you don't normally make the land bigger anyway, okay? So this is going to create a piece of land, okay? We'll move our camera up. Okay, we're going to call this, save the location, browse, go up here. We're going to call this VDB Wizard land, okay? And we're going to save all the stuff from this land in this folder. This is how you do VDB Wizard, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select this here, okay? And I'm going to create a camera, create a new camera, and we're going to copy from this perspective, okay? So I have the land and a camera, and like this, okay? And we're going to export the land, and we don't have to go through OBJ and FBX and all that craziness. And this is why I made this so you could export it very easy as a scene subset, okay? And then we go here to our to where VDB Wizard lives, okay, which is here, and Daz exports. Now I'm going to call this 1A new land. So we're going to save the land, and then you uncheck these so that you just have the land, okay, accept. You might want to uncheck compress, okay, but I believe it can still read compressed files. All right, and then you go and you export your camera. So we're going to go save as, scene subset, and we're going to go 1A new camera. See, this isn't too hard, okay? It's not too hard to export your land and export into your user data folder for VDB Wizard, okay? New camera. And now we're going to uncheck all these except for the camera and make sure the compress file is off. And now we go to VDB Wizard, import mesh. Okay, there's our 1A land. Okay, this is called new land, 1A new land. Open, and look at that, okay? And then we go import camera, 1A new camera. All right, and there is our camera, okay? Now, is this not cool or what? So let's go into our GPU render so it looks a little better. And we're still in the extreme mode, so we can see it really nice. Now what we're going to do is add a layer, okay? And we're going to go with the swarm. And look what it just did. And it culled it to our camera. Okay, so our camera, you see, I still have my camera here, so I don't have to import the camera back because the camera is still there. It's pointing the same direction as our land, okay? The land is still in the same place. So when I turn this sideways here, okay, this is our fog. And you see, what's nice about this, okay, is that what you're seeing, okay, because when you buy a pre-made VDB, what happens is, like, if I look under the land, okay, under the land, okay, you don't see any, if I can get this to point up, you see now if I turn on the terrain, where's the terrain? Okay, there it is, okay, and we'll turn off the mesh. That what you're seeing under the land, which is not even showing me, is that this is sitting on top of the land. And see, why this is so important is because when you buy a VDB and most of that VD, it's like an iceberg where only the tippy part of the VDB is actually in your scene. All of those voxels down under the land are taking up space. So if you can get rid of all those voxels, you can have more detailed VDB that's actually in your scene. And because of this method, it actually follows the contour of your land. Okay? And see, what's really nice here is this. It's the same thing. We're talking now, each one of these is a VDB, but they're all in one container. And so if you change the top one, they all change with it, okay? And so and it culls to the camera. Not only does it cull to the camera, like why isn't there any blobs here? Why isn't there any swarm blobs here? That's because there's a hill here, okay? And the hill goes up like that, and you can't see down into this little valley. So why put VDBs there, okay? Now I can go down into the settings and turn off the, see, this is camera culling. When I turn that off, it goes everywhere. But why would you need VDBs behind you? Okay, if you see, these things do take up space. So this is what makes them not take up space, okay? And so now this closed mesh, if you bring a sphere in, you can have the VDBs go around the sphere. If you bring, and then there's another checkbox which checks whether if you want it to go inside the sphere, or if I click this closed mesh, then it tells me whether if you want to go interior or outside of the mesh. Okay. Now now down here we have these fog blobs. Now you have ground fog or you have clouds, okay? And the clouds, all of a sudden, all the blobs go up into the sky, okay? And you can then create sky blobs, clouds, okay? And so now let's work with the ground fog. So we're going to go, now this height is like how far off the ground do you want them? You have minimum height and maximum height. So what that does is it just says take a bunch of them and move some of them up to the maximum and in between and some of them to the minimum so that you can have like a fog that doesn't quite sit on the ground. Now this streaming is the part I like the most, okay? It's like my favorite, one of my favorite features. It's like, what if you want the fog to only go into the crevices, okay? And so when I drag this streaming, okay, obviously this is the lowest part of the land, okay? So they went to the deepest part of the land, okay? And if I say, okay, I'd like to reverse it, I'd like them to only go, and you see these are low parts and this is low parts. You don't see any here because you can't see that part with the camera, okay? So it's only putting them where you can see them, all right? And so there's a lot here. There's obviously a very deep lower area, okay? And so it's putting a lot of them here. Now, a lot of them look like they're going outside of this frustum. Frustum, aspect, custom, layers, overlap. See this overlap? I can bring this overlap in so that it comes right up to the edge so that you're still not like where I can bring the overlap out and then it will let them come in. Now this is the density of your, so now you have, again, you have size, okay, blob count. There's 3,000 VDBs in this scene, okay? Let's look through the cam. Now see, we're looking through the camera. The camera is locked because you want the camera to stay like your VDB camera. Okay, we'll go to mesh. Instead of that, we'll go to our mesh view. All right, so now we have density. Let's bring the density down so that they're not quite so dense. All right, so that they're kind of thinner looking. All right, look at this beautiful fog here. Okay, that is contouring the land. Okay, see, when you buy a scene, okay, and it has a VDB included in it, what you want is a nice light VDB that follows the land. So for Daz artists who are making scenes and selling them and everything, you know, not to mention any names, okay? This is VDB Wizard will give you, it's not the only program in the world, but what is nice is I can right click, inject to Daz, proceed, okay, inject, continue. Now I don't need to export the land and I don't need to export the camera, okay, because it's already there. All right, so now I just go to Daz here and I click on this, this, and there is our VDB on our land in Daz. Okay, applaud. All right, so what we do now here is we can go now to our surfaces, okay, and we can go to density. We're in Iray here, and I can bring the density up to 200 or something and make it really, really dense. Or I can go, and since, I mean, this VDB is tailored to your scene, okay? It's tailored so that it's lightweight. It's not everywhere. It's not way underneath your land. It's only where you see it. It's not over the hill and down in every valley. It's only where your camera sees it, okay? And so let's let's open up HDRI EZFinder. Let's put an HDRI in the scene, something that will colorize the VDB, okay? Something that will naturally colorize it, all right? This Inject, all right, let's put some kind of sky in here. So there we go. That kind of colorized that a little bit, but let's give it some real color. Ooh, look at that. Now let's take the density down to 100. Let's take it down to 20 again. Ooh, look at that now, see? Now what we can do, this kind of a fake color. Let's go more with a green instead of like a neon green, and maybe a darker. Darker doesn't necessarily, it just makes it less dense. Now, what we do is we go back to our ultra scenery and let's pick feature. Let's not do with the features thing. Let's just go with an ecology and pick country Ford. We're going to have to turn off the trees. Okay, and now we go here to our rushes, fairy rings, flowers, small trees. Let's get rid of the medium trees, large trees. Let's render this. Let's go to render settings and progressive, maximum samples, maximum time. Turn off the quality so that we can just keep rendering and rendering. And let's see what we have. All right, now let's close this. Let's make this density so it kind of stands out more. So we go back to surfaces and density. Let's go to 50. Now let's try this. Now what we're going to do with our HDRI, okay, go to the environment options and parameters and go down here, parameters, okay, to this, and let's go like this. There we go. And you see, you can bring in another, you can take and move all the clouds around by changing the seed button, and then bring in another VDB of ground swarm VDBs. And then what you can do is give that a different color, like a lime green, and have them mix in amongst each other, okay? So here we go. This is how you do it, okay? So there is a lot more that I can have text like scattered, like letters and words and things scattered along the ground and sitting all evenly spaced along the ground. Any kind of letter, any kind of font, wingdings, all of those things, you can scatter them along the ground. You can have import a Genesis 9 figure. I might work with Genesis. It does work with Genesis 8. You import the Genesis 8. This is more advanced, where you bring Genesis 9 in, and VDB Wizard will read the morphs and the pose, and you bring that into VDB Wizard, and then you can scatter along the outside of their body or inside, so that it clips the VDB and only shows the VDB inside their body. Okay, and then you can do that with any shape. I think what you kind of would want to do with the wind, because it's what you can do is you can add noise to this fog, okay? So what you do is, and the purlin noise kind of gives it those little wisps, okay, that come up, and they kind of, it's because the wind would just kind of blow it away. It's a very, wind would be a very subtle thing, you know. It's like to the, because it's like you'd have to have, like, what's that, you know, when a bicycle, when something goes by you fast, you'd have to have like speed kind of blur to make that effect work. Okay, with a big chimney or an explosion with the wind, you can see it. Okay, but with something with a fog, it's not going to show really. But what does show is noise. Okay, and the noise patterns you have, like, you can make it look kind of alien, like little, like cellular, and you can make it look like have very, very detailed. You can add more wisps to it so that it kind of becomes wispy. And right now, this fog is econo fog, okay? It's fog that is light, so that I can just show you how this goes, how this works. But if you want more detailed fogs, and like I said, you can just lift this fog up off the ground, and what it does is it positions the fog right where your land ends. You have fog wall, okay? Also, where you can create a wall that's like, and you can decide how thick the wall is. And what the wall does is it doesn't just like go right through the land. It literally follows the curve of the land, okay? And you can taper up the fog wall so that it like becomes fog, so that it, you can taper it down so that it becomes, so that like right where it hits the land there's less fog, and as it gets higher it gets deeper. Or you can have it get less fog at the top, and as it comes down it gets deeper. Okay, so it tapers the VDBs down. Okay, and so, and you can set the transparency and how dense the fog is, the color of the fog, all of that. That's a fog wall. And the fog wall you size so that it fits in your camera. Because as you can see in VDB Wizard, you have two different views. You can see it from, you know, the top. And from this view, you set your wall. And so the wall comes in like just anywhere. And you move the wall around until the wall goes where you want it, which you'd want it to go kind of like this. Then you look at it from the side and you set the wall height so that it goes up above your 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 camera viewing frame. And then and what happens is the program automatically uh, uh, contours the fog to fit the land. Okay, so that you don't have this big VDB jutting out underneath your land, just wasting space. It conserves, and it culls the fog so it doesn't. So if your fog wall goes out beyond your camera, it will just cut that out so that you don't. It's not being computed into your scene. Now, if you create clouds, okay, the program automatically moves the clouds beyond your land, because you don't want a tree on your land with the clouds in front of it, okay? You always want the clouds behind the trees, okay? So so when you create clouds, it creates this wall of clouds that are in the sky, just like it does with the land. and you can color the clouds. And you have two different kinds of clouds. You'd have two different kinds of fog walls, okay? You have firewalls and you have smoke walls. Just like the same thing with clouds. You have fire clouds and you have smoke clouds, okay? So you have the two different, and so you can bring them in and mix them together, okay? And put them in the sky. So this, and you have this thing called crisp text, okay? This one took me forever to figure out how to do this, okay? But it's VDB text. So you can take any font that you own, that you install in your Windows font folder, and what if it's like a little hearts or diamonds or little stars, okay? And it it uh, it cuts out the VDB so that it's a perfect little VDB inside that font, and you can make it deeper, you can extrude it out, you can make them larger, you can make them smaller, you can put hundreds of them in the sky, and so it's this is like I said, there's so much you can do with this. This is VDB, and you learn this. You can make VDB packs and sell them. You can sell them as actually HDRI VDB Wizard .VDB Wizard files, and people can just load them right into their VDB Wizard and use your products as VDB Wizard files. So they're not just some VDB that you created. They're a VDB that they can load in here and edit and change and alter it to the way they want it to be. But it's a starting point for them. That is why when I started out this video, I said VDB Wizard does not have any presets. You see, so what I can do with this program here is I can take, now we go to density, I can't even see the VDB. Blob voxels, okay, we have voxel size. And then we have turbulence, blob warp, there's your wind, okay? Do you see what I'm saying? And you have push minimum and maximum. That's how high. So what happens is, and you have blob size minimum and maximum. So some of the blobs are tiny, some of them are big. Some of the and the more you warp them, the more the ones that stand out are going to kind of see. And this is for this land kind of blob thing here. Now, what I want to do is find the density, and I think that's down in here. Edge noise, depth, voxel, streaming, turbulence, density. We bring this density, now we can see them a little better, okay? So you can just undo the density to a degree in once you bring them into Daz Studio. So Daz Studio has its own density, so you can, if it's not right, you can change it right in there. That's the same with color and all, but what this brings to the table is this streaming thing where it goes where they like to congregate. And now this streaming one, I can reverse the streaming, and now you'll notice they all went into all the high parts of the land, and they left the low parts without it. And you have a slider so you can decide how much you want it to stream, or if you just want it. Now, we take the reverse streaming. Now you can turn it on the culling, where it says preview, and I think that camera culling, okay? Now there's another one, overlap. Somewhere in here there's a way to turn this another kind of culling. I think that might be down at the bottom here. You have masks, And you can take and add a square mask. Square. Now see this mask here? Position X. As I move the mask around, rotate. Sometimes you want an area that doesn't have any fog, where your figures can stand there and not have their legs cut off by fog. Okay? And so you go here, Z, like here. Notice wherever I move this, it just, and now you have feathering, okay, softness, so that it allows some of it to come in, and you have the height of this, so that when you see this, that little spot here doesn't have any land, any fog. And there's another word, and you can invert it so that it's only in this spot. And when we go softness, it's not incredibly soft, but it kind of does the trick. So this is how this works. And so and height. Okay, so you can change the width, and you can rotate it. All right, and you have different sizes, but then you also have this polygon one here, where I can say I want to just with a polygon, draw a polygon. I come in here, and as you can see, I can make the shape that I want, and I say this part here is where I want the fog. Or I can invert it and say I want it everywhere but here on this little hill. Okay? So, yeah, I kind of thought of everything here, all right? So then when you right-click and inject to Daz, that part, let's do it. Let's inject this to Daz. And as you can see so far, everything I've tried to do in this program works. And that's what's kind of boggles my brain, because it was so hard to do. Now this is after rendering for a while. So now there's very few voxels in here. So I could make this very, very detailed fog, okay? This is extremely low voxels. Okay, so let's see how many voxels it is. 75K, when most cards can render up to 1 million, and it's only 75,000. So we'll leave the voxels here because I can work them better, but we're at 15 centimeters. And this allow finer, that actually just means cap, all right, that it's capped. So if you click that, you're turning off the cap, and you're going to be setting the voxels yourself. So you'll go down below a certain amount, and it's going to just say, and it's not going to change. But right now we're at 75. I'm going to leave this here, and let's now import this in with that piece missing, okay, with this one little hill sticking out, all right? So we go here and close that. We go here, and we delete this. We import this. What we have to do is we have to make this more dense so we can see it surface. Let's go to 200 density. There it is. You can see that piece is cut right out. Okay, so it works. The masking works, and you can use that as a staging area. You could make the sun god rays using the masks without having to deal with an entire haze prop. The masking works with the clouds. It works with many different aspects of this program. Not everything, okay? But if you see it there, it works with it, okay? And so, but this is a very important part because there's that area you want your figure to stand, and you don't want their legs to be just completely gone with the fog. And so that area that you can just draw it around that area, that's your staging area where you want to be able to see things sitting on the ground and whatever. And it does look natural. It just happens to be that area doesn't have much fog. So, but it works. So you can see when you go into this that we have, for smoke, we have surface smoke. We've just done some more. We have atmosphere. We have primitives. Primitives are cylinders, spheres, and primitives are also your fonts, okay? And you have smoke and fire primitives. You have, we went through the particle sims and the fluid sims, which was that wind thing, and the particle sims was a wind with all those little particles in it. The primitives is your fonts and shapes and spheres and cubes, and cubes and torus is the most exciting of all of them because there's a special thing I kind of invented, and it's where it looks like you're pulling the sphere with your fingers, okay, and warping the sphere, warping the torus, okay, so that it and you can do that with fonts as well. So what you do is you put your fonts in the sky, and then you use this warp slider, and it pulls little parts of the font so that it's not like a mess font. It's just pulled enough to give each letter a unique kind of warp to them. And it finally got done. And when I released it to Daz, there are some issues that will be fixed in a later version. When you take a piece of land, like when you take a piece of land, you want to move the piece of land into the center of your scene. Okay, so if it's a piece of, if you all know what I'm talking about with Pterodome, you can scatter fog onto Pterodome also, and you can do it with the A and the B. But what you want to do is move the B into the center of the scene, then export the land. It's supposed to remember, positioning and if it doesn't, because I've already done that with Pterodome, okay? So one of the promo images where there's a wizard monk and he's standing in front of this kind of spooky looking castle or something, that's a piece of Pterodome land. So it works on it, okay? Now the distant ones you can put, like I said, because it's following the train, it's so far, and because, like I said, count doesn't really add to your voxel settings. They're like instances. And so the you can have thousands of VDBs populating a Pterodome, and it culls it with your camera. So, and if it goes over a hill, it culls the distance culling. And so this is something, but there may be some issues with that. You'll find them if you do this, and there are workarounds. You just move your Pterodome B land into the center of your scene, and then it works. And then once you have the VDB on the land, you can group them together and move them wherever you want. So it's not that big of a deal. That's the only thing that I know right now. Once you're done editing with these things you have to turn off the draw polygon, or every time you move the polygons. Okay, that just did something weird. It just moved them around to a different spot. So that might be a bug. So, but it did work, it did work. Okay, but turning off the draw polygon. Now maybe if I just switch, oh no, if you switch to round, it'll change it to a round one. What if I add another mask? Okay, I think that might have done it, because now we're editing with this mask. Okay, and we go to polygon, we draw a polygon, and that other one did switch, and now it's moved to a different place. So that's a bug. It does allow you to, once you put it there, you can export your, so you want to put this mask on last. That's a bug. It's not supposed to change the position of it once you turn this off, because once it's off, that means you can kind of freely work on other stuff and all. You can still work on other stuff, but it should be turning off the draw, and clear moves it out. Okay, so that is and it says affects both fog and sparkles. So this is basically um, um, I'm not sure that this even works. This might be left over from an older thing, because we used to have both fog and sparkles here, and now it's and I moved it to one or the other so that it wouldn't overload the program, because having voxels here and voxels there, and it was just a nightmare. And so that's why these are separated to swarm and fire, and not and one or the other, and not both together. So you cannot add another layer. Once you've added a layer, that's one layer. Now these voxels and the blobs and all these up here, those don't actually change the voxels. Okay, they change the display voxels. Okay, and the display voxels should be kind of okay, just leaving them the way they are. Okay, it changes how many of the blobs you actually see. Okay, if you turn it all the way up, you see all the blobs. Okay, but if you bring it down, then it doesn't show as many, and it could help people whose computers are are not as powerful to still make VDBs uh, and navigate through the scene, so just having fewer blobs being drawn. Okay, so these are just display only stuff. Don't expect them. And so you bring the density up, and this is it's showing the full density of it. It's not actually adding density to it. Okay, so all right. I think this is, and you got your mesh here. When the mesh is turned on, maybe that's why the mesh, there's something, I'm missing a mesh slider. Okay, it's supposed to decimate the mesh. Let's say that 3 times. Preview, aspect. Okay, I think that's it. It got changed. All right, this is it. This, you notice how that takes the mesh and brings it up to its full resolution that's in Daz. When you bring that down, then you can move this around. Okay, that's the mesh decimator. Okay, it takes all of these, the mesh, it still has its bumps and everything, which is enough for the fog to know that things, the curvature of the land. But it allows you to work on it where it's not so dense that you can. So that's your preview. This is very, very important here. Now, the 16:9, you can change your camera settings while you're in here. I recommend doing what I did: import the camera with the size you want and position you want, and it locks the camera to that, so that when you export it out, that's what the VDB is culled to. There's a special forum for VDB Wizard in the PA forums part. Go into the PA forums, and it's like kind of right at the top of the PA forums right now. And you can go in there and you can say, oh, I bought VDB Wizard and I like how it does this, but can it do this? And how does this work? And and you'll find the link to this video there also. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next EZ3DTV tutorial. And we have Sigmund's theme today. We're going to play some of that. Please like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and leave comments on the video if you found something helpful. If you find this program exciting, tell me where you live. Anything. Just say something. Say hi. All right, so thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next EZ3D TV tutorial, and it is always polka time at EZ3D TV. Alrighty, bye-bye for now.